Happy Friday, everyone. I'm Nuria.
And I'm Frank.
And welcome to another episode of ITT Podcast, which stands for In This Together Podcast. Our podcast is our honest take on relationships, love, and marriage, with the aim of sharing our views and experiences for you to take from it whatever you need.
So whether you're single, dating, in a relationship, or happily married, there is something in it for you.
Hi everyone. So today's episode is called Who is the Prize? And we're going to give our 2 cents on this interestingly viral topic on social media that seems to have caught so many people's attention. So as always, it's important that we first set out why we've chosen to actually talk about this topic. We've been hearing the word prize coming up quite a bit in discussions between men and women. And one of the things that does come up is this notion of someone being the prize. And it seems to be popular online. We might be a bit late to the game. I don't think that really matters to us. It's really just about us kind of addressing something that we've heard spoken of and brought up a few times. And so, yeah, this is our take on it. So to analyze, break down and address the question, who is the prize from our perspective, we're going to first define it. We're going to each talk about our views on the use of the word prize as it pertains to a relationship or a marriage. We're also going to talk about who we each think is the prize in a relationship if we had to choose. And we're going to talk through why we think this has become such a point of contention between men and women in the social media space. And it might not just be the social media space, but why is this coming up anyway? So yeah, let's kick it off with a definition of prize. So I think it's better to just go with the dictionary definition of the word prize. Prize is defined in the dictionary as a thing given as a reward to the winner of a competition or in recognition of an outstanding achievement. So that's the word prize. Okay, so having defined it, let's talk about our views on the use of the word prize first of all. So how do you feel about the use of the word prize as it pertains to a relationship or a marriage? What do you think about this whole discussing the prize in a relationship?
Yeah. First of all, I don't like the word prize. As you just read out, the actual description of a prize is something that's given to you as a reward for achieving something, right?
Or in recognition of outstanding achievement.
So I don't like using the word prize because it feels like it becomes like an item. There is a risk of seeing the woman as something you collect. So because of that, it doesn't resonate well with me at all. And it just feels like that is something that you would sit your daughter down, have that father to daughter conversation and say, look, remember that you are the prize. Because obviously it's very traditional, but you would not expect it to become a conversation or a discussion or an argument.
So it's like an unspoken thing.
It's an unspoken thing.
As a woman, you should have that self-worth. You should know that you're the prize. And it's like an unspoken rule, but you don't need to go around saying it. It doesn't have to become something that you kind of put out there into the relationship.
Exactly. Where it becomes the man feel like he should be the prize or the woman feels like she should be the prize. Yeah.
So why would you say you don't like people saying that? Well, what about it do you think is not?
I think it just objectifies the other person. You get into a relationship, it's about love, it's about, growing together. It's not about who the prize is.
I think another reason why people don't like to hear people say they're the prize is because it sounds so arrogant.
It definitely does. And I think it sounds boastful as well.
Yeah.
How about you?
I've got mixed feelings about it because on the one hand, I really do understand why some people might choose to use the word prize because it could be an endearing way to refer to someone you love. Because if I imagine myself as a man and there's a woman that I really, really want and I think she's amazing and she actually gives me the time of day and she actually agrees to be with me, she's like a prize to me. She's like something that I treasure, something that I feel like I earned because I showed her how much I'm worthy of her. So I can understand it in that context. And I think in that context, there is something endearing that can be endearing about it, I should say. But then at the same time, like I said, it's a double-edged sword because on the other hand, a prize is something that you earn and you get given, and you can very much put a prize aside. You can very much mistreat your prize. Sometimes having a prize is all about just getting the prize. It's not really about maintaining that prize. It's not about preserving that prize, or, so there is something about prize, the word prize, that makes me uncomfortable as well, because sometimes it's just about being the winner.
Yeah.
It's not even about what you're going to do with that prize. That's really and I think that's what you're saying as well. It's
that's really interesting, because once you get that prize, you're looking for the next prize. You're looking for that next achievement. So if we're talking about things, if you put things in the prize,
if you put people in that prize space, it's dangerous, because the language is dangerous in a way, because I think it's a weird word to use in a relationship or in a marriage, because you're going into like slippery slope territory when you start using words like that. But I guess, like I said, there is something about it that can be endearing, but I think it's too dangerous a word to kind of throw around in a relationship. I can understand why people kind of gravitate to that word in today's society, but we'll talk a bit more about that later on. Okay, so if we put aside the kind of complexities of using the word prize, and we kind of just look at the notion of what's being discussed in social media, but if we just go to the way people are using the word prize at the moment.
So basically, you're asking
who would you say is the prize? I mean, just to play devil's advocate.
Yeah, it's simple that the woman is the prize, because as I've just said before, as a man, you find your wife. It has always been like that. You understand? So the woman is the prize. It's not the man. I'm sorry guys.
The woman is
the prize in a relationship, in a marriage. Because obviously, when you're younger, I mean, you do whatever you can to woo the lady so she can accept your advances. Is that not the case? So she's the prize.
But some men will say, and a lot of men in today's society, I've got 2 points based on what you're saying. Some men have said, like, okay, there are more women than there are men. Some women are not going to find men. And as such, women are desperate to get married. And so the men are the prize, right? So that's the 1 point. For how do you feel about that? Because that is a take that some men have.
That whole, there's more women than men, so the women are desperate for men scenario is absolute nonsense. It's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. So even if there is 20,000 women to 1,000 men, out of those 20,000 women, you still need to find the one that fits for you. I think that's why some
it's
guys,
like a red herring.
Exactly. A lot of people make mistakes just by thinking, you get cocky to say like, oh, there's more women for every one man. But that's true. But are these the right women for that man though? Are these the right women? So it's still finding that woman for you. And even in that scenario, finding that right woman for you still makes the woman the prize, because you still have to find the right woman for you.
Yeah.
If you sat there and waiting for the right woman to come to you, well, you're going to be sitting and waiting for a very long time.
Yeah.
I don't buy that whole there's more women. Yes, the stats shows that there are more women in the world than men, but well, we have to pick very carefully.
Yeah, because it's not every woman for every man.
No, it's not. And when I talk about the woman being the prize, I'm talking about all types of women. I'm not just talking about what people consider the fine ladies or
the fine ladies.
No. People have a phrase of that. Yeah, she's nice. She's buff. She's this. No. Buff or no buff, she's still the prize, because a woman you consider that you see that she's not buff, for someone else that lady is a buff thing. So that's gonna be his prize. So please don't.
Yeah, it's true, and that just brings me to my second point. Actually, some men, you know how you're saying like you wine and dine the woman, you try and convince her to be with you. There's men in today's society in the 21st century that feel like women should wine and dine them. I think A$AP Rocky came out a few years back talking about he thinks girls should take him on dates. He thinks girls should buy him, gifts and stuff, which is, it's interesting now that he's with Rihanna. I'm like, is that what she did? How did that happen?
She didn't take him out.
Who knows? But he quite publicly came out saying like, the 21st century, women should date men, women should woo men, women should, spend on men. And he likes to be wine and dined. There's a part of me when I heard that was kind of like, he probably has that viewpoint because he's famous and he's successful. So women are going to chase him because they want to be his woman. And so because of that, he's got that warped sense of self-importance. And he feels like women should be vying to be with him. But then it made me think about the fact that things that celebrities say trickle down to the average man, and their viewpoints that, you know, a celebrity might have a viewpoint because they're rich and they're famous and they've got money, and so their reality is warped. But then the average man will take that viewpoint and try and apply it to real life, and this is where we get this warped sense of reality, you know. But what did you think of that? Because what do you think about men that say that?
That's interesting.
They should be rude.
But what celebrities say, they don't often do.
True.
Do you understand? So he might be saying that, but I'm sure he was chasing Rihanna. I'm sure he's the one that wooed Rihanna. So they might have an opinion. A lot of these celebrities say one thing, but they do a totally different thing. So I don't buy that. When I heard that in the past, my initial reaction was, you know, nonsense, absolute nonsense, because it makes no sense. And I understand there are guys that will fall into that, because obviously what they say, they listen to what these celebrities say. But you have to be your own man. You have to listen to your heart. You have to. It's not a case of, oh yeah, they say that, so that's what we should be doing.
But what if your heart says that? Well, if you are one of those men that wants to be rude and wine and dine,
you will definitely find one that would actually do that, because there are different women out there. But it's just a case of, you need to, like I said before, you need to find one that suits you. But don't push that with every woman, because that's not going to work. Just like the message these celebrities are pushing onto people, they're saying not every man's going to follow that. And if I want to be with a woman, I want to be the one that makes the effort. I want to be the one that I want, because I want to show her how much I want to be with her, how much I appreciate her. Even if she's got her own money, she can afford it. It's not about affording things. It's not about she can afford it. Why don't she pay for herself? No. It's fine. I want to show her how much I want to be with her. So that's the whole point.
Yeah, so really for you, it's the case of the word prize is not even the right word. It shouldn't be used. But if anybody was going to be the prize, it would be the woman, because the man goes and seeks a woman, and the man should be trying to make himself appealing to the woman that he wants.
Yeah, totally. What about you? What's your view on that?
So I think this is why me and Frank are just like on the same page about so many things. I feel exactly the same way. I think a lot of women are getting kind of bamboozled with this who is the prize question. And I'm kind of like, yeah, you do know you're the prize, right? And I think I've seen, you know, episodes in the manosphere of men speaking about, oh, these delusional women, they all think they're all that, they all think they deserve the best. And it's like, okay, you can't tell people to lower their standards and expect those people to just listen to you. That person knows their worth. And I feel like as a woman, like Frank said, there's a man for every type of woman. Some men don't like tall women. Some men don't like short women. There's all types of men and there's all types of women. So to tell someone, oh, you are not the prize, the man is the prize because he has more money, to me is delusional in itself. So to me, it's a case of like looking at that situation from a place of self-worth. These men that are saying that you're not the prize because you're not good enough, or you don't meet a certain standard, or you're not a 10 out of 10. Are those the kind of men that you want in the first place?
Avoid them,
right? That's not the kind of men you want in the first place. The kind of man that you want is the man that will see you and see your worth. And trust me, you have to know that you, with your looks, your features, your size, your beauty, are unique. And there are certain people that will find your specific type of beauty unique and beautiful and the prize for them. Like, they will see you as a 10 out of 10. I don't subscribe to people being, you know, ranked or looking at yourself and being like, oh, I'm really a 6. I'm sorry, I just don't subscribe to that, because a lot of the people that we will say are 10s, celebrity women and stuff like that, they have had a lot of work done. They have so many things at their disposal to go out there and be a 10, especially when you see them being photographed. Do you know what I mean?
And some of them still doesn't meet a 10.
That's not the point, right? That goes against what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, we're looking at celebrities to judge what a 10 is. That's not even realistic. Those celebrities on the street as a regular person would not be instantly looked at as a 10. And you on the street as a regular person may not be instantly looked at as a 10, but take you and put you in that celebrity space and you probably would. So I think beauty is absolutely subjective, and it really is in the eye of the beholder. And I'm not saying all this to just make women feel good about themselves. I feel like women need to have this level of confidence within themselves, because we all have unique features and unique things about us that make us beautiful. And only in a world where we're starting to compare ourselves to other people too much, Instagram and, TikTok and all that, can we start getting bamboozled and start feeling like we're not good enough and so we're not the prize. Of course you're the prize. The man should want to be with you, not you trying to be with the man. Don't get me wrong, I wanted to be with Frank as well, but I never chased Frank. I didn't feel like if Frank doesn't marry me, then that's it. Nobody else is ever going to marry me. That's not how I felt. I always felt like the right person for me will come along at the right time. And I'm going to put what I can into our relationship, because this might just be the right person. And I'm going to make sure I put in as much effort as I can if he is that person for it to work. But I was very much open to the idea that it might not be that, this might not be it, And because of that, I was able to keep my sense of self-worth. Long way of saying women are the prize.
But just to add to that as well, I think there's a danger that this whole prize discussion, or this whole who's the prize, is distracting from the core things that we should be pushing out there in terms of how to treat a woman better, how to treat a man better, how to treat each other better. So I really think, instead of sitting there and having a discussion about who's the prize, why don't you have a discussion about the standards that we should both men and both women should be bringing to a relationship?
Yeah.
We'll touch a bit more on that.
We'll touch on that next week too.
But I do feel like it's been thrown out there to distract us. It's just another thing that has just been
to cause
chaos. It's just like, let them fight over this. And the more we do that, the more we don't see value in each other. It becomes a case of like we're comparing each other. Well, you should appreciate me more. It's basically saying you should appreciate me more than I appreciate you.
Yeah.
If I'm saying I'm the prize, like So I don't.
You're lucky to have me.
You're lucky to have me. Like.
And actually, I just thought about something when you said like it's being pushed out there to distract us, and it's some people will be like, "Who's pushing it out there to distract us?" But I think we need to really realize that social media is about money. It's a business. It's about generating views. It's about keeping people engaged. And it's all about how much conversation interaction can we generate. And what generates more conversation interaction than controversy? Nothing. Yeah. People will sit there for hours debating about something because they disagree. If people agree on something, it's a done deal. You think this, I agree. That doesn't generate views, and that doesn't allow people to kind of make money off of discord and make money off of conflict. So it's much easier to kind of keep people's attention by consistently debating things that are unnecessary. And so I think when young, and maybe at this part I'm talking a lot more to young people, like Frank is saying, what's more important is what standards do you have for your relationship? How are you maintaining that? How are you bringing that into your relationship?
And then as well as, while you sit there, just think for a moment, if you're in a marriage and your husband was the one that proposed to you, I don't need to tell you that you're the prize.
Speak on it.
Yeah, that's just right? That's straightforward, right? I propose to you. You're the prize. Guys that have had ladies propose to them, well,
maybe they're the prize.
Maybe they're the prize. So you have to think about that for a moment. What drove a lady to propose to the guy?
That's interesting. That segues into that whole topic about proposing to men. And I'm not going to pretend that I am completely a traditional woman, because there's a lot of things about me that Frank will tell you I'm not very traditional. But when it comes to proposing to a man, nah. And there must be something about that that's linked to this whole who's the prize debate. And that's why I'm so against it. And I'm always kind of like, you know, if my children are listening to this in the future, I'm so against women proposing to men, because I think the man needs to come to that point where he knows that this is the one woman I want to be with. And I'm not going to be sexist. There are women that can be very, you know, kind of want to do their own thing, and, you know, they're not necessarily want to settle. Like I said before, there are women that I know that don't want to get married. So it's not as if I'm saying that women can't feel that way too, but I'm saying more often than not, women do want to settle down. They do want to be in a monogamous relationship. And that's the kind of women I'm speaking to right now. Then proposing to the man is not the way forward, because God forbid down the line you turn around and be like, I didn't even want to marry you anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know how heartbreaking that is? Like, no, like...
And that's a possibility.
That's a possibility. Men are cruel. Men will throw some things back in your face. Okay, no, it's true.
Let's not go there.
It's true.
Let's
men can throw things.
Men are cruel.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I take that back.
Yeah, thank you.
I take that back.
Yeah,
but
some
men are cruel. Frank doesn't like generalizations of men at all.
No, I'll never say
women are cruel. Okay,
no.
Okay. I stand corrected.
I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with what you're saying. It doesn't feel right. I'm not a traditional person. Like, I'm not that traditional, but there's something that just doesn't feel right about a woman proposing to a man. Like, it doesn't feel natural. It just feels unbalanced for me. I feel like it needs to be, if you need to do it the proper way, the man seeks the woman. The man needs to prove himself to the woman. Everything needs to be, it's about the woman. I'm sorry, guys. And look,
I love all the apologies.
Nuria does not have a gun to my head. I can say that, you know, on air. I can say, nope, like this is coming from me. This is what I believe. And if you want to be in a happy relationship, in a happy marriage, it's the way it is.
So, I mean, that segues into the simp, right? It seems like sometimes, especially when you listen to these men, you know, I'm not even going to name any of them because I'm not trying to, like, Kevin Samuels, I can name him because, you know, may he rest in peace, he's passed away. But the men will often say, if you feel like women are the prize, you are submissive, you have low self-esteem, you're a simp, you know, the woman has got you whipped. What is that about? Like, what is that about? And what's she, you know, you as a man, how do you feel about that?
Disappointed. Very disappointed because the last time I checked, I don't feel whipped. I don't feel like you've got control over my life and whatnot. I don't feel weak. I don't know. I'm happy. I'm happy in my marriage. I'm happy in my relationship. I'm happy being a family person. At first, I didn't know this was all going on social media. I had to do a little research into this whole simp thing and this whole alpha, beta.
I know, because what the whole thing is, what is a simp, right? Right now, it seems like a simp in social media world. From my perspective as a woman, it seems like a man that kind of pours into his wife, loves his wife, publicly shows that he loves his wife, is probably loyal to his wife and faithful. Basically, proud to be
married or to be with his woman. So I don't. If that's what a simp is, I think all men should be simps. Should we not be?
Right?
To have a happy,
weird,
relationship and a happy marriage, right?
It's weird because, that is a healthy marriage. That is what you should want from your marriage. You should want to defend your wife, look after your wife. You know, your wife should be able to defend you, look after you, support you. It's weird if we're going to label that as being a negative thing, because then what are we saying we want? What are we saying we want? Because one thing that always strikes me, that I think sometimes people talk about women in such a way that they forget that women are human beings and that they have autonomy over themselves. They have thoughts, feelings, viewpoints. You know, they are full-fledged human beings, just like how a man is a full-fledged human being. And so with that in mind, if you're saying being in a marriage where you respect, love, care for, protect your woman makes you a simp, which is a negative thing, then what is the opposite of that? You should be dominant. Your wife can't tell you nothing. You don't listen to anything she says. You cheat on her. Like, what are we saying? And if you're doing that to another human being, let alone your wife, what does that say about you as a person? Because that is not even appropriate behavior to another human being.
Yeah, you'll be known as a.
You can't use that word.
Yeah.
You'll be known as a
complete douchebag.
Okay, yeah.
That's what you'll be known as. I mean, who's gonna if you describe that to someone and say this is how this person is to this woman
who's his wife,
then they're gonna be like, wow, get rid of him.
What a
or
loser.
leave him. What a loser.
Yeah.
Straight away. So what are we saying here?
Yeah, it's disheartening to see that there's so much messaging out there. And obviously, we don't live in a bubble. We're not always on. I'm rarely on YouTube. If I am, I watch a few things within the same sphere, and I might show Frank some of this stuff. But I probably don't know as much about, some of this gender wars debates. But I've heard enough about it to know that it's out there. But it's disheartening because the messaging is off for men and women. And I just think about like the young men and women, like you were talking about, the young men and women growing up in South London. There's young men and women growing up in the US, growing up in Africa. We're imitating each other around the world, and it's like we need to not imitate this kind of nonsense, because the only way to be in a marriage is to respect each other and to value each other. And if that's going to make some people simps and make some women, pick-me's, we're not even going to get into the pick-me's, if it seems as though if you respect your husband and you want him to feel valued, you want him to feel loved, you're a pick-me. Is
that a word?
It's like women that I'm sure I'm oversimplifying it. I know that there are women that they just agree with everything men say, even to their own detriment. And some of it is not true. Some of it is misogynistic stuff that really isn't. Okay. Yeah. There are women like that. And, I think that's where that word pick me came from, to kind of put those women in a box that think that way. But then that word is kind of seeped into any woman that has any kind of view that agrees with anything a man might say. And it's like we need to tread carefully with that, because the point of successful marriages is for us to coexist, to build together, to grow together, to kind of be in a space of happiness and safety together. And so if we can't find common ground, then what are we actually saying here? We should both just be mistreating and disrespecting each other, lest we be a simp or a pygmy. Nah, that's not going to work. That can't be the way. So it's like one of the reasons why we wanted to talk about this is because of that. Because you think about the young people listening to some of this messaging and it's like, whoa.
It's disgusting.
The messaging is off.
Yeah, it's definitely off. Definitely off.
The last part of this that we want to touch on is to talk about why we think this has become such a point of contention between men and women in social media space. And we've kind of covered it. We've kind of covered it. Like, men and women in the social media space, like we've said, tend to go down this kind of tug of war.
As you said, it sells us more for men and women to be at war. If we showed each other more love, more care, that doesn't sell. It doesn't sell to people. It doesn't sell articles. It doesn't get a lot of followers. But when
there's no traction.
Yeah, there's no traction. But when it's a heated debate, that's what draws the masses, which is really sad. It's really sad.
I mean, I feel like it's a point of contention because of that. It's because it sells. It's because it's easy to pit people against each other, and to pit men against women is very easy because we are different and we tend to focus a lot on our differences rather than our similarities. There's a lot more about us that is the same than is different, but we focus on our differences and that's why we stay kind of bumping heads. Whereas if we focus on our similarities, we both just want to be respected. Okay, how can I respect you best? How can you respect me best? Yes. What does respect mean to me? How does it feel like? We both want to be loved. How can I love you in the way that you understand? We talk about love languages and things like that. And we'll probably talk about that in episodes in the future. Loving someone in a way that they understand is a way of showing them that you respect their individuality. So it's like there's so much more about us that's the same than is different. And we might have different ways of obtaining the same thing that we want, but it's still the same thing that we're looking for as men and women. Men want to feel protected by their wives the same way women want to feel protected by their husbands, but the protection is different. What it looks like to a man is different than how it looks like to a woman. So I think it's because it's just easy to pit us against each other, and because of that we can just bump heads all day long, and people that make money from it can make money from it. One of the things that we said we were going to touch on is the type of people that tend to think this way, you know, the type of men that seem to be kind of harping on about this prize business, and a lot of them would describe themselves as alpha men. And I just wanted to give a bit of background on that and where that's coming from, because I know there's a lot of young people that probably listen to that and maybe don't know the background to that. And I think there is something to be said about the fact that, in my opinion, it's being used incorrectly. So just to give a bit of background, when people are talking about alpha men, beta men, they're talking really about the 6 male personality types. And these personality types can kind of apply to women as well. You know, there's alpha women, beta women, etc. And they're pseudo-scientific terms for men derived from the designation for alpha and beta animals in ethology. Ethology is the scientific study of non-human animal behavior. So it came from really studying animals, and usually with a focus on behavior under natural conditions and viewing behavior as some kind of evolutionary adaptive trait. So it's more about how animals kind of interact in their kind of natural conditions. And often in ethology, animals were kind of assigned alpha or beta personality types or kind of traits, right? So the 6 personality types, which can also apply to women, are alpha, beta, gamma, sigma, delta, and omega. So you'll find that loads of people talk about alpha men, beta men, but there's gamma men, there's sigma men, there's delta men, there's omega men. There's all types of different men. And this is kind of just like another one of those personality things like Myers-Briggs. It's also like how some people kind of subscribe to astrology and star signs and things like that. But this one is a bit more derived from, you know, pseudoscience. I just wanted to kind of point out as well, like when it comes to alpha men, the manosphere at the moment, the way men are talking about alpha men, in my opinion, and I definitely need to get this out there in this episode, is not a true alpha man. An alpha man is a confident man with humility who's like a natural born leader. A true alpha male is not someone who kind of brags and makes people feel uncomfortable. They're confident, but a true alpha male is most likely to be humble, a true natural born leader, right? And if you think about leadership, it's about listening to everybody and kind of being fair. A true leader, an effective leader, is about humility, humbleness, fairness, emotional intelligence as well. So that's not the kind of men that seem to be on social media at the moment saying that they are the prize. Okay, so I just wanted to put that out there, especially for like my young girl listeners. A true alpha man is confident, but he's not going to demean you in front of people, because that's not a natural leader. That's not a true leader worthy of that title as a leader, right? And a beta man, for example, you know, they use a lot of the terms alpha and beta to be like, alpha men are confident, they're the man that women want. And beta men are, you know, they're wimps, they're the simps, they're submissive, they are like weak. And there's a lot of men that probably think, oh, I'm not an alpha man, so I'm a beta man. And it's like nonsense. A beta male is, yes, a bit more reserved, but his reservedness is mainly due to shyness. It's due to him not necessarily wanting to kind of cause conflict in any way. But a beta man might be a bit more reserved. He might be shy, but he's also friendly and he's also quite loyal. And he's also someone that will always try to diffuse conflict. So it doesn't mean you're some sort of weak man that just lets women walk all over you. No, you might not be the leader because maybe you're a bit too shy to take on that role. But at the same time, you're friendly, and with the right type of woman, you'll fit really well. For completion, the other personality types are gamma, which are kind of the adventurous, intelligent, and aware man. This is the man that's more likely to kind of plan a bungee jumping trip with all his boys or something like that. Very adventurous, very intelligent, very aware type of man. There's the kind of omega man who is intelligent with unique interests and not competitive. They're more likely to be the joker in the group. They're more likely to be the person that kind of has like quirky interests. Maybe he's into like playing the guitar and doing something like that his friends are not really into. I mean, if all your friends are into playing the guitar, then that's maybe not a unique interest, right? But if you're in a group of men that don't really do that, he might be the one to stand out doing something completely different, and he doesn't compete with other men. The last two, the delta man and the sigma man, or the Sigma personality types. The Sigma person was likely to be more calculated. Some people might consider them manipulative because they study and understand people. So a Sigma will kind of study the room and they will use what they understand about people to kind of maneuver the situation so that people can behave in certain ways. They're very intelligent men, really self-aware, with a lot of emotional intelligence, and they kind of prioritize themselves. So if you think of like the alpha as being someone that kind of stands out as the leader, the Sigma will be leading people kind of behind the scenes because it might manipulate the situation and even manipulate the alpha. And is not intimidated by the alpha. The Delta men, or the Delta personality type, is one that's a bit more self-sabotaging. They can be quite lonely and resentful and have low self-esteem. So if you think of men that people sometimes refer to as incels, that kind of, they're just lonely, they're in the room, they're by themselves, they're on the computer, they don't really have high self-esteem, but they're like keyboard warriors and they'll be saying all this stuff online. But you see them in real life, they're not really saying nothing. They're not really trying to like be out there like that. And they often self-sabotage. So they will get good opportunities, but they won't take them because they've got such low self-esteem. So those are the different types of men. I just wanted to kind of put that out. Not just men, personality types, like I said. I keep referring to it as men because the language is being used a lot in the manosphere, and a lot of men are kind of in that space, are using that language as kind of a weapon against other men. You know, you don't want to be a beta man, you don't want to be a simp. Oh, I'm an alpha male. An alpha male is not those men that say they're alpha men. And I think that that's really important for women and other men and young men and, you know, even grown men to understand. You shouldn't really go around saying that you're an alpha male because it actually shows you up to be a different type of male, because an alpha male's personality type does not lend itself to that type of boasting. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of touch on that because I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions about that. And I think the type of man that's more likely to say they're the prize is the type of man that's also likely to claim that he's an alpha male. And that's not always the case. And more often than not, it's actually not the case. Do you have anything to say on that, Frank? I feel like I just went in lecture mode.
I mean, you know more about the whole alpha, omega, sigma. So I don't think I have. I totally agree with everything you said, and I've done some research into it, and you're definitely right. It seems like people will tell you if you're an alpha male, you don't have to
respect,
be boastful about it and say that I'm an alpha male. Yeah. So I agree.
Yeah. And I guess like it's also good to know these things because when people talk about certain things, to have an understanding of what they're talking about, you can then discern when they're just talking rubbish. You know,
That's
you can
correct.
you can kind of just know that there's no need to even conversate with this person about this because what they're saying is not even the truth, right? It doesn't make sense. And the only reason why I know about alpha, beta, gamma, omega, delta, and sigma is because I'm very much a kind of sociologist, psychologist type of person. I love behaviorism, sociology. I did psychology, sociology, and I just love those kind of topics. So I kind of delve a lot into things like personality traits, Myers-Briggs, theory of change, how people behave. That's probably why in the beginning, one of the ways we described ourselves was by our star sign. A lot of that is because there's stuff that's out there that if you really look into this, there is some truth to it. And there are ways that people can be categorized by the way they behave. But there's loads of different things. So, the alpha beta type of discussion is just one of the ways you can kind of understand people's personality types and stuff like that. But I kind of knew about it beforehand. So when I started seeing it used in that way, it was just kind of like, this is not being used in the right way. And I just wanted to air that out in this episode. I think it's the perfect one to air it.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think we've done this topic justice. I mean, what do you think? Do you think there's anything we've missed?
I don't think so. But do let us know if you what your thoughts are. If you agree with what we said, if you disagree, if anything we may have said, rub you the wrong way. Do let us know. I'll be very, very keen to know why. And
and kind of because people have different views, and I'm sure there's people that think, nah, forget that, scratch that.
Yeah,
the men are the prize.
Yeah,
the world. So there's always going to be men.
Know. If you're a lady and you think no, the man is the prize, we'll be happy to hear from you.
Yeah, especially like in our comments on on Instagram and stuff. We need to post more so that people can have, space to comment under and stuff like that. But yeah, we definitely will want to hear from you. Let us know what you thought about our views, and let us know what you think about the whole debate about who is the prize and why you think people are having this discussion on social media. So that's it, guys. You've heard both of our views on who is the prize. We've had a bit of a chat about what we think about the word prize in relationships, who we think is the prize if we had to pick, and we talked a bit about why we're having this conversation these days in social media. So hopefully you enjoyed that episode. We hope to hear from you in the comments, so let us know what you think. We appreciate everyone that takes the time to listen to our podcast, and we're super grateful for all your engagement with us. We really hope you tune into the next episode where we'll be talking about roles in relationships, and we'll be giving you our take on how establishing these can help you set the foundation for a successful relationship. And don't forget to email us any of your questions, comments, or dilemmas at itt.thepodcast@gmail.com, or send us a DM on Instagram at ITTpodcast, or one word. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we'll speak to you on the next one.
Bye.